This time on Clayton Speed, we take a windscreen out of a Marina and find rust. Are you surprised? Defeated by a glove box. Let's put more light on the subject. You don't want to do it like that. You want to do it like this. Oh, it's moved. There's a spider here. Maybe he knows how to do it. Oh no, he's dead. Take it. Oh, there we go. Interior light. Free. Mark II Marinas. Maybe a little bias, because we do like Marinas on this channel. I like other cars as well. It's just Marinas are what I've got in the garage, in storage, and I might as well do something with them. Make a fool of myself probably at the same time. Anyway, this 1976 Marina Mark II Special was an 1800 automatic. It now has no engine in it, because for some reason somebody decided to take it out for an Austin A60. I mean, what? Why? My mind boggles. People do that with Morris Minas all the time. They get a Marina, they take an automatic 1300 or even a manual 1300 and stick it into a Morris Minor. This engine is now gone. I do have an 1800 engine. I think it was living with the Titanic, and so what I've got is a 1300 engine and manual gearbox. So there's a bit of a conversion we've got to do to turn it from an automatic to a manual and from an 1800 to a 1300. But before we do all that, it needs clean, it needs the windscreens taken out, it needs some welding doing, it needs a whole load of jobs. And so today we are going to get the windscreens out, get the dashboard out, probably not in that order, flip that, reverse that. Look at what welding needs doing, because on these cars, yes, they do rust like every 1970s British car. Couldn't hear that, could you? Like every 70s British car rusts, I get it. But this one actually has been treated underneath from new. Underneath it's really, really clean, but the only little bits that are rusty on the structural side of it is the inner sill passenger side. So we need to sort that out. But I don't want to start getting the grinders out, getting the welders out before we've stripped the interior out, get the windscreens out. Let's do it properly. The interior is really good and I don't want to be messing that up. Get the windscreens out, let's get the dashboard out, and let's look at the floor, see what we need to do. Now she's going to push it from the inside outwards and we'll get the glass out. Literally light pressure, hopefully. There we go. See, popped it out the other side. And that's it. Right, seal out. Now, one thing on these cars, and I'm not too sure if it's the same for any sort of mid-70s British Leyland, but what this has on the Aperture is little drains, and what happens is, would have been a plastic pipe that was behind that going down, and it used to come out on the A-post. So that pipe would rot, that pipe would break, you'd end up just with water that would just go straight through into the car, rot out the floor. Design flaw? No, maybe. Well done, British Leyland. But obviously they were trying to solve a problem. He's back again. He had an exhaust sat on him. What I do is put a rubber bung into these holes with some sealant, and then we have the original problem where water collects but it won't actually get inside the car. Well, if it's sealed properly it shouldn't even do that, but let's go. Oh, it's all exciting here. Right, let's get this dashboard out and see if there's any more rust behind the A-pillars. There's no plastic pipe on it anymore, so I'm guessing the water's just coming straight out. Passenger side, there's a split in the inner sill, so, and a lot of surface rust on the floor, both sides really, so there has been moisture in it. If there's any more damage, I don't think there will be. I think it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Fine. Remember how to take a dashboard out, Ben. That one there. Hey! Lost the screw in the process, but just flung it across to the side of the car. Hey, it's moving! This is why it's easier to take the windscreen out than changing your dashboard, because you can put your head in places you wouldn't have normally had to put them to see things. Let's just recap what the actual manual said, because we didn't actually follow it. Not that I read it through at the beginning of this video, you understand. Aha. Disconnect the face level vent air tubes. I did that. Remove the steering column bridge 2 pieces, 2 screws. I didn't do that because I think it was already gone. Remove the heater control knob. Then remove the 2 screws retaining the heater control. Yes, I did that. Release all the fascia panel switches. See section 11A and remove the connectors. Where's 11A? 11A. 11A. Can't even find a figure 11A. Oh, I'm lost now. I'm in gearbox. Oh, see section 11A. We're removing what? All the fascia panel switches. Oh, okay, fair enough. Yeah, no, I just disconnected the cable. Where applicable, disconnect the cigar lighter lead. It is applicable, but I didn't take one. Remove the 5 fascia panel securing screws and the 3 securing nuts. It's not particularly helpful as to where they are. I'm sure they're right. It's off anyway, and thank you for that. Probably should have read it from the beginning. Anyway, it's out. Oh, what a surprise. Moisture's got underneath the vinyl, probably because there was a split there. Now I've got to get the scraper tool, peel it back, bit of heat, get rid of the glue, and then make good of what we've got. Gingerly taking off the side moulding trim. The vinyl's tucked underneath of it. This feels quite brittle. Ah! Oh dear. Looks like I'll be looking for side moulding trims now. Might be able to repair that. Just don't catch it. Didn't mean to do that. Oh, that's really... it has slightly discoloured anyway, but I was hoping to repair that. Not like I can ring up the Rover dealer and go, excuse me, can I have a new vinyl roof for my Marina Mark II Special? And they'd be like, oh yes sir, are we doing in blue, black, brown? Not going to happen. I haven't got the budget to put it on a new roof, so I've got to get this off in one piece. Well, fold it back without splitting it. Oh, there we go. Tiny little tear in that which I can fix, I hope. If you hadn't realised by now, this is a budget restoration. There's no need to blow it all apart, to take all the paint off, to start again. I think, you know, we can do some rectification work everywhere that you find bits needed, like with the sill, like with the engine, like with everything, rather than sort of have to throw all new parts at it, because that's the thing. I think a lot of classic car restoration fall down because everybody thinks, oh, I've got to put new stuff on every, and it's, yeah, for safety's sake, new brake parts, new suspension part, rectify panel work, rectify paint, rectify a vinyl roof, try and fix a broken trim edge piece that wasn't broken before. Chasing this rust up here at the moment though. Okay, so we are going to get this roof degreased. Now I've wire wheeled it, I'll just blown the airline over it, and then we can apply this Epoxy gel rust remover. I've had some quite good success with it. But you have to leave it on for quite a while. Masked off the roof, the vinyl where it is folded back, because we don't want to obviously get any rust eater onto that in case it reacts with it. So now I've got to degrease it. Then once that's dry, we can get the gel onto it, cover it with some cling film for overnight. Wire wheeled, done. Degreased, done. Gel to do, cling film to do. Got it? Good. Go. Let it do its thing. I may come back in the morning and have no car at all. No rush, mate. No rush. Not, oh, thought I had more than that. Oh, I'm going to have to go and rob the kitchen for cling film now. Right, robbed some from the kitchen. It is still here, don't worry. The roof now has been left for a couple of days with all the jollop on it and covered in the cling film, and it's still fairly moist underneath that, so I'm going to get that off, see if it's any good. Put some gloves on. Let's see what we got then, eh? Going by the instructions, it says, with gel still in place, brush area vigorously with a wire brush. Well, vigorously I'll have to do on a drill. Oh, battery's gone. Yeah, let's get into the pits where it's rusted. It's cleaning it out, so we'll carry on all the way over, and then we're going to treat it. Well, clean it. Hold on, what's it say? Wash or wipe away the brown sludge formed. If corrosion remains, repeat the process. Heavy rust may take several applications to reach perfect clean steel. Heavy rust. After rust is completely removed, wash item in plenty of clean water. Dry immediately and apply a protective coating or treat with water displacing fluid, such as their own stuff. Right, well, we haven't got that. The plan is to get it all cleaned off. We're going to epoxy. The epoxy will give a mechanical bond, so it will seal what's below it, so it won't rust again, especially obviously putting the vinyl top back on. But we'll have to do the same on the back, because I've got to take the back screen out and do the same on that if there's any rust forming. I felt over most of the roof, it does seem okay, so hopefully, fingers crossed, cross my fingers and gloves. We just need to treat this today. Hopefully I won't have to put a second application on. If we have to put a second application on, that's fine. It's okay, there's no rush. I'm just trying to restore it in 3 months. It's okay, it's fine. Right. I need to degrease this, get the rest of the sludge off. So I have Kryptonite. This is basically G101 Auto Smart stuff, eBay version. So I'm just going to spray it on, just do a small section at a time. I might need the thinners to take off the excess glue. Once I've done this, I'm going to get the Scotch-Brite on it just to sand it down a bit. I speak as if I know what I'm talking about. I have never done this job. Get this all degreased, get it all clean, get it all flat, and then get some epoxy on that, treat that overnight. Right, so masked up the aperture. I'm literally only painting where I've exposed and fixed the rust, so it will look a bit odd because it's thin down here and fat up there, but it'll be underneath the vinyl. What I did was I Scotch-Brited it with a grey Scotch, and what I then did is I went over with some thinners, and I was taking the thinners over the top. It actually took the paint off and left us with primer. Don't want to leave the primer as the final coat before the glue, because primer is poor. This is going to be 1970s primer. So if we epoxy over the top of that, it will seal it all in. I was going to brush it on, but because it's exposed the primer as well as the bare metal, I'm literally just going to use my HVLP mini spray gun, which has got a very small nozzle on it. Because it's such a small area, I can go over this with like lighter coats and build it up rather than sort of blast it on with a thicker coat. There is nothing professional about it. As you'll see, there's nothing professional in my masking up. I'm literally just a person in a garage thinking he knows what he's doing and showing the world.
Back to you. I started
Right, that's the roof, or the front half of the roof epoxied, the aperture done. Where it's epoxied, you don't have to put a top coat on that. You can use that as the top coat. It's a mechanical bond, so it's actually sealed anywhere that I've treated, and it's laid nice and flat. Waffle, waffle, waffle. In my skin. We've got to tidy up now. Right, just thought I'd show what I've used. So this is the 1K epoxy primer from HB Body Pro. I got it off eBay. All it needs is, I think it's a 2-to-1 with their Acryl 740. It is a 2K thinner, but that's a 1K primer sealer. It just needs 2-to-1. It's brilliant. I've used it a number of times. It seals off what's below, sands really well. And if it was that the car didn't have a vinyl roof, I could actually use a very light putty, like a dolphin glaze U-pole, to get that to fill those in, which is what I will probably do when I do the engine bay bend. Yes, engine bay.
Things you do for YouTube.
Engine bay. Well,
What shall I say about this?
apart from it hasn't got an engine and it hasn't got a gearbox, it hasn't even got half of its wiring that it should have, but the engine bay is going to be like a jewellery box. The rest of the car outside, keeping that patina, trying to really rejuvenate the paint. But under here, I want to make it look spot on. Using the same epoxy that we did around the scuttle. No, not scuttle bend. Window aperture. We'll use under here before we actually top coat. Now at the moment, I'm not too sure what I'm going to use to paint. Use the prop.
That's what it's for.
Plan is to make this engine bay look absolutely top notch. Hopefully using that same epoxy primer, get it nice and smooth. The one thing I'm not sure about is what paint was used originally to paint the whole car. I know the car's had paintwork in the past, and under the bonnet I don't think it's had anything done to it, so it's showing astral blue metallic paint, non-lacquered. So hopefully we can epoxy it where the rust's eaten into the metal, fix all that, and then get a nice top coat of astral blue in the engine bay, put new stickers on everything so it makes it look top quality, because I'm trying to get top money for this car when I sell it. And yes, everybody, I will be selling this car because I've got far too many and I need to get them sorted and moved on. So if anybody is interested in possibly buying this car once it's done, after all the episodes have completed on YouTube, please do get in touch. Other than that, like and subscribe. Contact adhesive for getting the roof back on. Now, I did a little bit of research on this. I'm not 100% convinced of my own research, but what I found is brush on contact adhesive rather than the spray on, and that has come from a number of guys who are taking vinyl roofs off muscle cars and fitting them on other cars and all the rest of it. So contact adhesive, brushable. I got this from Car Builder Solutions, not a sponsor of the channel. They can be if they want to be. So yeah, this says spread a thin even layer of adhesive on both surfaces, work it into any absorbent surfaces. Allow adhesive to become touch dry, 5 to 10 minutes depending on temperature. Bring surfaces accurately together and press firmly into place. A roller can be useful if using on a, well, we're not using heat mat. So that is what I'm going to try and do, and it's one of those, it's got to be done first take. I've never done this sort of job before with a vinyl roof. usually just leave them alone. I've managed to get it on. I didn't use a roller, I used a window squeegee. Whether it's the right thing to do or not, probably not. But I managed to get it all down there. There was a couple of splits in it, which I think will be okay. I've managed to push it together enough, but I won't know until it's fully dried and cured. What I'm going to do now is get some masking tape over the front lip into the aperture, just so that it gives a bit of taut so it doesn't move, because that'll be the last thing I'd want. I do need to go around afterwards, I think, once it's all bedded down, just around the edges of the aperture, just to pull it in, because obviously when the rubber seal goes on, it obviously has to grip that, but I want to make sure it's as flat as possible. So the bulk of it is all done, just those little edges, I think, once we're in a position when it's dry. If that made any sense to anyone, hopefully. I'm not entirely sure how many episodes this will be. I'm not going to say every job is going to be an episode, because if we're repeating processes, there's no point in showing you twice. But on the next episode, I do know that we will be fixing that inner sill on the passenger side. I will also be repairing the outer bottom A-post of the wing, because that is the piece that goes to the sill, non-existent. I've got a couple of repair pieces for that, one of which is front arch. Now these do not rust out on marinas. It's the one thing on a wing that doesn't rust out, but this repair section down here might be useful. I'm not entirely sure when I come to repair that piece. If there's enough meat on that, we can section that in. If not, I have plan B, which is a second-hand wing from what probably was a Nautilus Blue Morris Attack with a radio. Oh. So this has got a radio, so it must be compatible. But the A-post section on this is actually pretty good, so we might be able to use that and graft that in once we bare metal it and see what it's like. It may have a load of filler in it at the moment, I don't know. Rather than using the whole wing, it doesn't need that. This wing can be repaired. And like I say, everything on this car is going to be repaired, rejuvenated. I keep using that word rejuvenated, but these old cars where it's such low mileage and it's very, very original, I'm really trying to stick to that rejuvenation repairing option rather than blowing everything apart and starting again, because it does not need it. Not every car could have that sort of restoration, but this one I'm hoping can. Now I have started playing around with the paint on the top of the scuttle just as a test piece, just to see if I could cut it back a little bit, rejuvenate it and bring it back to life, and that has seemed to work. There's a little bit of imperfection in the paint, which I would expect. This was painted possibly with a paint that possibly was a lacquer within a paint that then was sprayed on, because they used to peel off when they used to go in the sun after a couple of years. And that was the same for not only the Marinas but also the MGs, the Triumphs, the Morrises, the Allegros, the Maxis. Whatever British Leyland car produced metallic paint was notorious, not just Marinas. But I'm hoping to be able to fix that. It has had some repair work done in the past and paint work done in the past, so we'll see when we come to that. But thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time here on Clayton Speed. And where does this live?